Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your summer break. My name is Mr. Jason, and I'll be teaching world history and life science. So this class is world history, and the very first unit that we're covering is World War I. So I'll give you a little background on World War I. It started in June of 1914 and ended in November of 1918. This was a huge war. 70 million soldiers fought in this war. 70 million. And 22 million people died as a direct result of this war. And there were many more that died as an indirect result, but 22 million people died as a direct result of this war. And I think it's sort of hard to grasp how large of a number that is. So what I've done is I've put 1,377 Skittles into this Tupperware container. There are 1,377 Skittles here. All right, in order to have 22 million Skittles, I would need 15,976 Tupperware containers, just like this one. So I would need 15,976 Tupperware containers filled with M&Ms to this level, or Skittles to this level, to represent 22 million Skittles. Now, if we imagine that each of these Skittles represents a human life, you can see how significant this loss of human life was during this war. It was an incredible death toll. So before we get to the war, we'll be talking about the steps that led to the war, starting off with the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so the very step, many historians could argue that the very first step that led to the war was the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution was a period of time. It occurred in two periods. It occurred from 1760 to 1840, and then the second period was around 1870 to 1914. And during these periods of time, manufacturing went from occurring in small shops and even inside of people's houses to large factories. All right, so at the very start of the Industrial Revolution, people were making textiles, which is like, clothing goods and weaving cloth in small houses and small shops. But eventually, someone invented a machine that could produce these things on a mass level, on a very large level. And these machines were very large themselves, so they had to be placed in factories, and those factories were typically placed in cities. So what happened during the Industrial Revolution is people started moving from sort of rural areas into cities, and they were working in these giant factories. Now, you may not understand how that relates to World War I yet until you consider what is needed in a factory. What is needed to make goods? Well, resources are needed to make goods. You need coal, you need iron, you need cloth to make goods. And not all of these resources could be found in the country where these factories existed. These resources were sometimes found elsewhere. So these countries went elsewhere to find these resources. They went to other countries, and in some cases, they took over those territories. Okay? So think about that. A country is going into another country and taking over territories. All right, so that's one of the first things that leads to potential conflict. Another country taking over a portion or even the whole country. So the Industrial Revolution is it can be argued as what started the steps to World War I. It was the first step. So today we're focusing on the Industrial Revolution. Throughout this week we'll learn more about these other steps that led to the war, and then we'll talk about the war itself eventually. But yeah, today's lesson is on the Industrial Revolution. So I have a slideshow posted. Make sure you read my instructions on the slideshow, and then after you do the slideshow, go ahead and complete the worksheet that's associated with it. Now remember, message me if you have any questions at all. I'll be on Google Hangouts. You can just type in Jason Parks into the search and you'll see my name come up. And if you have any questions at all about the class or any questions at all about anything in general, just message me on Hangouts. I'll be there all day. All right? So I hope to hear from you, and I hope you enjoy the slideshow.